The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? Act out and you can end up in prison. Act while there and you can end up in Sing Sing. Amber and Scott discuss what they would do on the inside if Shakespeare was an option. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Alrighty, well, I'm really excited for this episode. I love this film, and as folks may or may not know, you and I don't discuss the films after we see them, so I'm really excited to get into this discussion.
Yeah, this was a very interesting film. I ended up enjoying it more than I thought I would.
Yeah, so we are talking about Sing Sing. And our synopsis is, Divine G, imprisoned at Sing Sing for a crime he did not commit, finds purpose by acting in a theater group alongside other incarcerated men, including a wary newcomer. And that character's name is Divine Ieye, for the purposes of our conversation here.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I guess we're picking this up with him, it sounds like a good number of years into his incarceration.
Divine G.
Yeah. But
who's the main character? And the interesting thing to point out here is that aside from Divine G, most of the other characters are actually portraying themselves and they're incarcerated versions of themselves.
yes, like these actors were in prison.
Exactly. And they did participate in an arts program. And this movie revolves around the fact that they are in this program called RTA, which is Rehabilitation Through the Arts.
Yeah, which is a very interesting program. I mean, so real quickly on the what would you do, because that's what we do here. What would I do if I were wrongfully incarcerated?
Yeah.
I mean, assuming he truly wasn't wrongfully incarcerated, I'd lose my shit a little bit.
Can you imagine? I mean, so this movie takes us through these inmates in the RTA program and how the program helps them process their emotions. Originally, it was created as like a leadership management program, but it really helps them deal with the flood of emotions that they feel being imprisoned. And the main character, Divine G, is wrongfully incarcerated and he keeps trying to fight to get out. And the other mainish character, Divine I, is a self-proclaimed gangster, saying it was his destiny and kind of just was resolved to the fact that he would always be there.
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of sticking points for this in this movie for me as far as facts and stuff like that, but I'm just going to overlook all of them because they're not really pertinent for our purposes. We are going to assume that he was indeed wrongfully incarcerated for the purposes of this. I'm not saying he was or wasn't. I'm just saying that we're gonna go with the movie and it says he was wrongfully. I don't know, man. I'd have so much rage in me
I
that
can't
starting.
imagine.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking about what would I do if I was ever incarcerated? Like, forget wrongly or not. Like, if you're incarcerated, obviously your life is vastly different from what it ever was. I suppose it would also depend on what I was incarcerated for.
Right. Well, if you're in Sing Sing, you're with legit criminals.
Yes.
And the fact that they had this theater program was a great escape for them. Is, from all the drama and the hardness of prison, that this was an opportunity for them to pretend to be other people and put on costumes and escape.
Yeah. I mean,
not literally escape, but escape into different worlds.
I mean, if I had a sentence so that I figured I would get out at some point while I still had something to give to society, I'd probably spend all my time in there doing everything I could to better myself, further education, because what else are you going to do?
Yeah, and that's what Divine G seemed to do is he read all the books in the law library, and he even helped not only be his own legal defense after, working with a lot of organizations that help prisoners fight their convictions, but he also helped the other main character, Divine I, get out of prison by writing all the documentation for him and setting him up to be able to have a hearing to get out.
How salty are you if you're innocent and the other guy self-admittedly is guilty and he gets out and you don't?
Oh my gosh. So yes, that was painful to watch. And what made it even more heartbreaking is Divine G has been trying repeatedly to get out because he was wrongfully accused. His cellmate, who seems to be a good guy, and they have like a really solid, legitimate friendship, has a brain aneurysm and dies while they're in the middle of this production, and they're both in it. And then shortly thereafter, he is denied his appeal to get out, even though there's some great evidence in his favor, but there's red tape. And then the guy that you have a very complicated relationship with that you helped says, "Oh yeah, I'm getting out." Oh my gosh. It was heartbreaking to just see those just punch after punch to this guy until he ultimately does have a breakdown of sorts.
Yeah. I mean, I probably would have had that breakdown a lot earlier, but I mean, I suppose you have to, if you're in that position, you eventually have to come to terms with the fact that this is your life and you have to do something with it. I mean, if you're not going to end it, and I'm definitely not promoting ending your life if you go to prison, I mean, you've got to do something. So I think this is probably good. And he seemed like he was a good person at heart. So the idea of not only being able to do something for himself, but
Divine G.
Yeah, but also all of these other prisoners that really does help rehabilitate them into society.
And he in the film was one of the founding members of the RTA program and has really helped shape it because he also wrote plays on the side and he had been in all the productions and took a lot of pride in being able to offer this space for inmates to just be able to retreat to.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, too, when you look at things from a what would you do perspective, is initially Divine G, they have some openings in the RTA program. And Divine G suggests, hey, how about Divine I? And his friend, Mike, is like, I don't know about him. It's like, oh, I'll vouch for him doing an interview. So he brings in this guy, Divine I, who kind of ends up stealing the part that he would have wanted. Well, first of all, I'm sorry, he derails the group's enthusiasm for the play he just wrote, which he's thinking he's going to pitch as being the theatrical production.
Yeah.
And then the guy says, well, let's do something else different. So then they say, okay, we'll do something else different. And then this guy takes the only part that Divine G would have been interested in. So then he's kind of you can tell that he's kind of like, oh, shoot, I invited this person to my world who's now creating problems. And then they had a tense standoff. But it was a really interesting relationship because there were these ebbs and flows of like, oh, crap, I brought this person in my world. Now I have the consequences. But then also learning and growing together. And it makes you realize that sometimes the complicated relationships can be some of the most rewarding ones.
They can, for sure. Yeah, it was interesting because obviously and especially when you're in prison, you have to look out for number one.
Yeah.
Like you have to because you have to assume that no one else is. Though occasionally, as we see here, sometimes somebody can actually be looking out for you and helping you out. And I think probably when you're in that position, that's such an odd feeling for anyone to have somebody on the inside actually looking out for their best interests as well. I think it's such a thing that would take you so far aback that your initial thought would be, no, this ain't right. There's no way this person's actually looking out for me here. But lo and behold, yeah. So
the other thing to explore from a what would you do perspective is if you are put in this situation, whether you're guilty or innocent, and you're there and you're doing the time, is what would you do in your behavior? It would be so easy to just be angry or isolated And the magic of the RTA program is that it was this beacon of light for a lot of inmates, and still continues to be. Like, it's a legit, real program.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was about as based on a real story as you could possibly get out of a movie.
Right, because the characters were actually portraying the incarcerated versions of themselves,
Like those-
once they had gotten out.
Yeah, except for the main guy.
Yeah.
All the prisoners in there were in there because they were in the RTA program in prison.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not exactly hard to portray that person because you were there.
Yeah. It's when you think about what would you do, and the fact that if I were in prison, and so much of prison it seems to be is the persona you project that protects you. Like, if you act weak, then people attack you, and you have to act strong. And the part I thought was interesting as well is Divine Eye, who is definitely an intimidating guy out on the yard with the other inmates, is basically putting on garb to pretend to be Hamlet.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting, because if that were me, I would wonder if I was playing, artsy fartsy kind of, let's dress up and pretend. I would be worried that would interfere with my macho image.
Maybe to a point. I mean, it's kind of.
I guess it's how well you can own things in life. You're
Yeah.
like, yeah, I do ballet, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. like there's the saying. I don't actually know if it's really a saying, but real men wear pink.
Yeah.
Like, it. Sometimes it doesn't matter what your outward appearance is, but it's how you actually portray yourself. Like, not the subtle small things like garb and stuff like that. Like, don't look at my clothes, listen to my voice, bitch.
Yeah, this is who I am. You got a problem with it? It's an interesting dynamic, because the guys that were in the film being actual former inmates, they talk about the ability to process emotions. And I can imagine if I were incarcerated, wow, I can't even imagine the flood of emotions every day. And even if you can't project those outward, just holding in all of those emotions and being presented with an opportunity to release them through theater is amazing.
So for Divine G, definitely. I actually don't know if I necessarily agree. I mean, maybe to a point. I don't know. Again, this is a what would you do? I've never been incarcerated, though I have spent some time on the other side. I have some. I mean, about as much as Dominic Mysterio is portrayed as having in WWE, if you're a wrestling fan, and stupid stuff like don't pay a ticket, go to jail for a couple hours until somebody bails you out. And now I've actually lost the point of what I was going to say.
We were talking about processing emotions.
Oh yeah, if I'm in there, I'm going to try to remain as dead on the inside as I can. Just my goal is to feel nothing. Like, that's really what I would want to do, because I feel like for the most part, if you feel, the things you're feeling aren't going to be good.
Yeah, one of the characters shares a story about how someone at the lunch table next to him had their throat slit in front of everyone else at the table, and they just had to continue eating and sitting there like it was normal. And if it were me, I totally understand what you're saying, but when you see stuff like that, I just feel like it would take a toll. Like, you would reach a tipping point.
I mean, probably. I mean, you got to remember, a lot of these people are there because they're probably mostly murderers that have been there. So they've seen, like, when you've seen a lot of stuff, but I don't know. I mean, again, what would you do perspective? It's very difficult for me to put myself in that position because I've never murdered anyone. And so I don't know how I would feel. I've never seen someone murdered in front of me.
Yeah,
I've not been party to this murder thing.
That's probably.
Yeah, and I like to keep it that way.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think if it were me, I would definitely. I can see myself being in a rolled up ball in a fetal position for a very long time, and then probably embracing what you said earlier of saying, I have this time. Let me see what I can do to better myself and probably read all the books and whatever program was presented. You're like, yeah, I'll do that, just as some form of escaping from the monotony, because I think the monotony of it would just have to be soul crushing. Is a schedule you don't create and food you don't choose.
Oh yeah, like you're living in an environment where if you're outside and all of a sudden you hear a siren go off, it don't matter what you're doing, you have to jump down on the ground flat, spread your arms out
Yeah.
And that's just one of the things you have to do if there's an issue, like boom. And you have so little actual control over most everything. So I suppose in some ways that was nice because it gave them something they could control, which makes you feel a little more human.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
again, not a movie review show here, but I really enjoy this film a lot, and I hope a lot of folks see it, because it's anything that opens your eyes to different perspectives in life, I think is always a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly an overarching theme that just because you've gone to prison, even for something brutal, doesn't mean you can't be rehabilitated. Like there's a route back for most people. I mean, I think that there are exceptions to that, but it's not, oh, I killed someone when I was 19. Now that I'm 52, I'm still a monster. No, not necessarily at all.
Right.
So
yeah, and that was the whole point, is rehabilitation through arts. And I agree with you. Sometimes if something happens at a young age and you have more years in front of you after that than behind you of being that person, you can definitely change and grow from the experience. And I think at any given day, any of us make choices as to who we're going to be today. So regardless of any actions any one of us may have taken on any scale from 0 to 100, I think we all have a choice every day as to who we want to be and who we want to become.
well said. And I'm just going to say I want to become someone who never has to make the decision as to whether or not he wants to join RTA.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.